Hey guys, sorry for the delay there. Welcome back to the Carnivore Roundtable. I'm your host, John, from YouTube channel Carnivore Facts on YouTube. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Robert
That
Kiltz.
sucks.
Dr.
I'm gonna have
Kiltz,
to call
a
him.
renowned figure in reproductive medicine and women's health. He's also known for his
If I do, I wonder if I cut off the stream.
innovative approaches to
Do you do Bluetooth?
fertility treatment and
Do
also
Bluetooth?
explored the impact of the carnivore diet on health and fertility. Thank you, Dr. Kiltz, for being part of this roundtable today.
John, could you mute Larry's mic?
Yeah. There we go. Sorry about that.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be here. My heroes, Carnivore Roundtable. Love you guys.
No, we love having you on here.
You, man. Love the energy.
Thanks.
There we go.
It's a radical journey for sure. It's a journey.
Absolutely.
It is. We got a yeah. Have you ever heard of Bob Proctor? I gotta ask.
Oh, I love Bob. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've signed up for so many of his classes, and I heard you talking about vibrations and frequency and the law of attraction. I was like, man, I gotta ask. And you said mentioned The Secret as well. I love that movie.
Well, I years ago I listened to, read The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, and that's actually when I kind of sort of begin to venture into mindfulness and faith and understanding the power of the word and how God is so important. And I wrote a book called The Fertile Secret.
Yeah, that's my next purchase list.
It's a takeoff on The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And about 20 years ago, I was using that mostly in our fertility world, integrate Eastern Western medicine. And then some patients were getting pregnant on paleo. And that's how I sort of had my adventure into the keto carnivore world.
That's awesome. Real quick, What is your favorite law of attraction book?
Oh, boy. Well, I would tell you, I'm going to reach over.
Hey, why we do that real quick? Why does everybody introduce their channels real quick? And then we'll put it Mind is a Master.
I never heard of that one. I'm writing
James
that down.
Allen. He is a superstar, and he was also in The Secret. And the other is Prentice Mulford, Thoughts Are Things. He's another really obscure guy that I learned from Rhonda Byrne.
All right, let's take 1 second here. Sean, introduce yourself and your channel, sir.
Oh, Sean. I'm Sean, Intentional Carnivore. And I appreciate the invite, brother. I'm glad to be here with you guys today.
Larry, you want to introduce yourself there? I know you're still driving down the road.
Yeah, Larry, Carnivore Soldier from Austin, Texas. All right.
And then JT, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm JT from the Poco Moonshine family, and I'm glad to be here, man. Spread the carnivore and talk about some good energy.
Outstanding. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I forgot to do introductions. We kind of started off there and got kind of screwed up my flow. So we're doing good now, though. Anyways, Dr. Kiltz, we appreciate you being here, sir. We appreciate your insight. We were honored to have Dr. Tony Hampton on here last weekend, and he helped us on a lot of the carnivore journey and questions and answers, and we're glad to have you here for this one. And how's your week been, sir?
It's been amazing. I've actually been off. I've been to Virginia, Sarasota, New Orleans, New York, and I'm back in upstate New York in Skinny Atlas and Syracuse. And the cold winds and the wet winds are beginning to show itself, and the colors are beginning to show themselves in the fall. And I'm doing awesome and amazing. I'm learning every single day. This carnivore world is quite remarkable, and people like yourselves, and we're learning from each other, and that's to be. And Tony Hampton, I met Tony when I was down in Costa Rica for the Reverse TV series. I never knew about Tony Hampton, and so you meet people. He's so amazing. He's a carnivore, and he is a rock star. So humble. In his mission and his words, and he's one of those that I really respect highly.
It's a metabolic gladiator.
Yeah.
I have not. Dr. Hampton is one of him and Kelly are two of the ones that I have reached out to that I have not been able to get a hold of yet. So I'm really looking forward to being. I've never talked with Dr. Hampton yet, except for on the 24-hour live.
Oh, we'll send him.
You will.
Email, Sean?
You will.
I
Sean,
like
do you
him. I've
use
watched
email?
him. I do actually. Apparently the way I'm trying to get a hold of him, I can't get a hold of him. I need to get it.
You email him, he'll respond pretty quickly. I'll get you his email at the end of the show today.
I really
we'll do a
enjoyed our
text.
talk.
We'll do a co-text also, one way or another. You know, there's so many people. I mean, I haven't. There's so many I'd love to interview, and I did have a private interview with Saladino. I'd love to do that. You know, I always want to come back to the Chafee, Baker, Bella, Barry. You know, some of the rock stars in this. David Diamond is one that I really highly respect, and I was watching Sean and David Diamond this morning a little bit on cholesterol, and I'm just fascinated by so many different ideas out there, and you know, it's the simplicity of carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
That was that LDL masterclass, right?
Yes, and you know, it's still a complicated story, but we got to break it down to simplicity, and you know, eating the fatty meat in carnivore is infinitely simple, and even the science of the causes of disease, you know, I call it mostly snake oil.
Yeah, I was doing some research in the NIH studies from the 90s, and they had a lot of studies that show that there's a strong correlation between low cholesterol level and violent suicides, violent acts, mental illness, bipolar disease, all kinds of a whole list of things. It's pretty crazy. And go ahead.
No, well, I grew up in LA, kicked out of school in a gang, couldn't read. I went through a lot of the ADHD, OCD, depression, suicidal thoughts were in there throughout the years, criminality, and I think it's all secondary to plant-based, low animal fat, and low cholesterol is deadly for us. Deadly.
That's my theory too, and that's why I started Mission Carnivore, which is to reach out to law enforcement, first responders, and military veterans, because we have a higher suicide rate anyway. And I think this just moves that fulcrum and makes a tipping point easier for someone to take their life.
And we see it, you know, children in school are sick, emotionally, mentally, physically, and basically it's all plant-based, low fat, and plants and protein are killers for us. And my sister died of diabetes at 52. My best friend Dave Kilmer from medical school died of cancer at 52. Two of my grandfathers both committed suicide in their 60s. Mm-hmm. I think, and this was back in the 50s. Again, this is not new. It's so old, and we're really looking back further and further and further to understand that medical science, I mean, obviously, I think we all went into medicine to help people, not to hurt people, but the science is opposite, and it's hard to get people to change their ways.
They got to change that paradigm, right, Kiltz?
Yep, absolutely. We're working on the paradigm shift, and I talk about it, I write about it, but I've been chastised about it in the hospitals that I practice, and many patients think I'm a little crazy, but I'm on a mission to sort of break the paradigm as much as we can, realizing that the idea is that, you know, you guys and have felt the difference. I felt the difference. I was a standard eater forever. It took me at age 55 to go carnivore and feel the difference, even though I was keto and paleo and even a lot of mindfulness. I was really working on the mental side of things, but it didn't really work until I went to the carnivore side. And so my job is to speak it out, share it, have these conversations with all of us, and recognize that the word here is carnivores and carnivore cures. And listening to David Diamond inspires me because, you know, he's not an MD, he's a PhD in the neurosciences. He suffered, he decided to dig deep and shared some ideas that are really important.
Another one is Chris Palmer.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got some good stuff too. I don't know exactly where everything that he stands, you know, his view on everything, but I've been reading his book, Brain Energy, so hopefully I'll get some more information in there. And it's been a great read so far. I mean, it's really, really, really practical stuff and good stuff.
And it's an interesting concept here. There's no need to have any more science. There's no need to sort of figure it out. It's really already there, but so many people are looking for the answer in the scientific studies, but they've got the same problem because science is backed by some money which has a mission, mostly of a drug or some sort of a treatment, and we really, you don't need it because we're sharing the way. And so many of my patients that have looked at either keto, carnivore, fasting have suddenly conceived, delivered babies, or done better on their fertility journey and cured so many other diseases which too many people are suffering from.
So carnivore helps fertility?
Again, it's just another list of the diseases, thousands of diseases, which really are all caused by, I always say, the same 5 things: plant sugars, plant chemicals, plant antigens, the fermentation of the plants in the gut via the bacteria, yeast, and viruses, and then excessive exercise. This drive to run and lift and do all these things in order to look and feel good, when in actuality it's simply the change in the diet, which is the most important thing that you'll feel better in such a short amount of time.
Don't you think it's? Oh, go ahead, Sean.
No, I was just going to say, my brother told me that even before I ever learned about carnivore for many, many years, 20 years probably. He's always been in phenomenal shape. He was in the military, worked with special forces until he retired. And I remember, like I said, 15, 20 years ago, nearly, he was doing paleo at the time. And I remember him telling me, he's like, man, I have to put butter in my coffee because I'm trying to up my fat. And I'm like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. You put butter in your coffee? That is insane, even back then. And he says, listen, you can control a lot of how you feel and what you do with what you eat. Now, we didn't go into detail much more than that or what it was, but even at that time, he was telling me, listen, man, and he was throwing signs out there, what you put in. I don't know why it took so long for it to register, even with me in the healthcare field for as long as I was in the healthcare field for. So I think, a big takeaway.
I think it's interesting too about plants is that of all the addictions that humans have, other than maybe pornography and gambling, everything's plant-based. I mean, opium, marijuana, alcohol, it's all plant-based addictions, right?
And I think if you look at the gambling and the pornography, they're really based on the same problem because our brains are damaged. We can't think straight. And ultimately, they're also surrounding alcohol, which is another plant-based product. And so the quick fix, which is what we're all after, the dopamine drive, which our world of all these problems is based on the same problem, that if we ate the proper human diet, which is carnivore, we would likely be able to clear the slate and have less problems that are driven by a plant-based low animal fat diet.
100%. I mean, I find myself drinking less. I drink less. I don't do any marijuana or THC stuff. I did when I first got out of the military. I would take gummies, to try to relax, to get the anxiety down. Anxiety's gone. Depression's gone. I don't have to do that stuff no more.
Yeah, I got off coffee far easier on carnivore than ever before. I minimized the coffee, the tea. I minimized the alcohol, and I think that I'm very good at saying no. I'm a very great minimizer now, and if I have a small sip or something, it's mostly for the social cultural part of it, which is what we're at. And again, small amounts of plants are not the cause of disease unless you have an anaphylactic reaction, which can take you down fast.
Absolutely. I think we've all seen.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think we've all seen, improvements in our mental health on this diet dramatically. I know that I personally have, the mental clarity, the sharpness, the lack of doubt in what I do nowadays, the overall mental health. And I know Larry's had some interviews with some other soldiers that were struggling with, PTSD, and getting on carnivore, their PTSD went away completely. So, there's a lot to say about nutrition and brain health.
Yeah.
And I suffered with depression and migraines, and again, many things as a child. Did anyone ever sort of figure out that it was my plant-based, low animal fat diet as the simple cause? No one did. And, it took me 55 years to go like, wow, this is amazing. And it's so counter to the teachings of our medical profession. Completely opposite. And that's really the hardest part for people to understand in this. And, our body burns fat. We do not burn sugar ever. We don't have a metabolic switch. We don't suddenly burn sugar and then burn fat. The damage to our body is a plant-based disease. And so fat is the only energy of our body. And even if you're fat, and if you go carnivore in week 2 or 3, your body is feeling amazing, even though you're not skinny. And so the recognition as obesity doesn't cause any disease is still a hard one for people to understand. And just imagine that being skinny in a famine is good for you. It is not. And so the reason we get fat is because we're supposed to, in order to store the fuel. And it's not just the fuel for the mitochondria to make ATP. The fat tissue contains amino acids, simple sugars, and fatty acids, and minerals and vitamins. So adipose tissue is actually critical for survival and reproduction.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to what you said, what you guys were talking about a while ago about addiction, though, too. And kind of tie it together with what you were just saying about feeling good, but not much has changed. A few weeks in, you feel good, and not much has changed. Some of that, is a bigger deal than what we realize, because I was reading a book, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maltz, and he was talking about operating on people. He's a plastic surgeon, and he operates on people, and it didn't matter with some people some of the time how much was changed as far as their plastic surgery and how much different they looked, because they have a picture of what they look like in their mind. And it didn't matter if he did an amazing transformation, they looked like a totally different person, or just a slight touch up and it fixed an issue that they had, because they still saw who they were, and they had gotten used to seeing that. And I think that's a huge takeaway as far as our mind's ability to lock in on something. And when you're making these changes and reaching new levels, if you don't work on the mind first and get the mind right, then it really doesn't matter what your body's going to look like. If you feel good, that goes a lot further in the process, I believe, than even before you get more motivation or whatever from then before you see the major changes, if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah.
The mind is the master. Whether you're vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, it doesn't matter, or carnivorian, the mind is the master. That's why when I look at Wim Hof and many others, again, carnivore, I think, is the top of the line. But if you're anything else and you really work on the strength of the mental construct, it'll change so much. And that's why I think the religious texts are so powerful, if you can really dig deep and work to understand how powerful they are for humanity.
Because addictions really can be anything. I personally, I have an addictive personality. I can get addicted to anything: pens, pencils, papers, coffee, sugar. It doesn't matter. I can get addicted to anything. I believe each one of us has inside of us a hole that only a relationship with God can fill. And we try to put other things, whether it be food, drug, pornography, sexual relationships, bad relationships, or anything else in that hole. But we don't understand that only a relationship with something bigger than us, our God, can go into that hole And anytime anything else gets in there, it's going to be, exploited to our demise, I feel like.
And I think that that's one area that we can do a little bit better in the keto carnivore space is the mindfulness, and working on the power of what you think. And Wayne Dyer and again Bob Proctor. We were talking about Bob Proctor at the beginning here. There are so many people that have written about the word, and it always comes down to faith in God. That's, I think, so important.
Absolutely.
100%.
Very important.
Yeah.
Guys, let's grab a couple of these questions here while we're at this point. Let's got one here. Been a strict lion diet for 10 months with amazing results. Took electrolytes the first few months, but found I no longer need them. Do you recommend any supplements? Tests to confirm. Supplements ? Tests to confirm ? Anybody want to jump on that?
I mean, all I take is iodine and occasional magnesium if I get a cramp. But I guess I'm 220 days in now, and I don't take electrolytes anymore. I have a lot of salt on my food.
Just magnesium for me. I don't take electrolytes. I get enough salt from my Redmonds. I put on everything.
I take Keto Chow electrolyte, the daily minerals, usually at least once a day, whether I need it or not. Just drop a few drops in, my drink, my water or whatever. But other than that, and sometimes I forget. But that's all I would take. There's nothing outside of that I take.
I do drink mineral water, though. I want to say that I do drink mineral water on a regular basis. So right here.
I don't drink. I drink mineral water, but I don't. I was doing elemental every day, but now I probably do it maybe once or twice a week max. How about you, Dr. Kiltz?
Yeah, I don't think you need any of those things. I think salt is critical in our diet. We likely hunted for salt. We found it. We prized it, and so salt is really important to consume. And then sea salt, mineral salts. I mean, they've got all the minerals you need. In my opinion, we go for mineral waters because wherever you're at, you may not be getting them, and they're filtering them and they're cleaning them out. And my bet is we drank sort of murky water for a long time because it contained a lot of the salts and things like that. But I don't think there's any real need for the supplements. I sell supplements because I believe a lot of people on standard diets can use either an organ meat supplement or in my case, I still take care of a lot of people who are in the plant world. I think they may be helpful, but really we haven't proven that. If you stick to bacon, eggs, butter, beef, salt, I think that's all you need, and you should be fine. I know some people who take Lugol's. I take some occasionally. My partner is like always saying, "Here, you need some of this," and so I do it. But I have a low testosterone level and have a low vitamin D level, but I feel fine. And so I also believe a lot of the measurements of the tests that says, "Oh, you're low," are maybe created in order to sell you a drug that you probably don't need, in my opinion. So how do you feel? That's where I think the real thing matters more than anything. And Benazati has one vitamin G, gratitude. So I think that's, those are things that we need to be putting in our mouths, and that's about it. Our minds.
I think we're seeing that that lower level to sell drugs being playing out in the statins, right? Where they're saying, now if your cholesterol is here, you need more statins. They keep lowering that number that you have to get the target. It's a moving target, so they can sell more statins.
Yeah, I absolutely think that. And if I tell you you're low in something, you're going to believe it, and then I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to feel better because it has a placebo effect. And I do know that. And I started on a little bit of testosterone supplement, and my number was the same, and I felt the same. And so I stopped it, and I still feel great. And the same thing with vitamin D. Again, my number is in the low normal range, and I'm like, well, you got to get it up, but I feel fine. So where do we go with all these things? And which is the test? Medicine has not really figured out the test that we're going to do on you, and we're going to say, aha, now we know what to do, and you're going to be better. There is no evidence that preventive medicine helps very much.
If it's not broke, why try to fix it, right?
Yeah. But I do think that the mindfulness and the meat are the best thing you can do.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We got a super chat here. I'm assuming this is for Sean. Dr. Kiltz and my brother Sean, a great Sunday indeed. Looking forward to a Brooklyn meetup. I'm working on it. See you next week, Sean.
Yeah, I'm gonna appreciate y'all, Father, man. I'm gonna have Ron. I'm gonna bring him on and do a little interview. We're gonna chat next week. So it's gonna be good. Looking forward to it.
And my parents are from Brooklyn, so that's my New York connection, and we're working on a Brooklyn meetup. So that'll be fun. Get that going sometime in the coming months.
Good stuff.
And then Callie says, is there a time frame that I feel that the effects of eating this way, or is it different for everyone? Is there a time frame that I'll feel the effects of eating this way, or is it different for everyone? I think it's different for everyone. I think everybody has a little bit of a different take on it. Some people feel it pretty quickly. Depends on what you cut out of your diet. If you still got some stuff that's not clean, if you're still getting some fake oils in your diet, you're probably still feeling some of the effects of that. Dr. Kill, what's your thoughts?
I think it's different for everyone. I always say in the 2 to 4 weeks are all you need, but then you're going to go through the ups and downs because, we may be exposed to some antigens that are going to make us not feel so good, or some chemicals or some sugars. I mean, it's really hard to be 100% carnivore, or for most of us, we might touch on something that has some effects on us, even the meat. Because the animals, what they're fed, you and I don't really know what they're fed and what they're eating, but there's some antigens that may be embedded in the muscle or the fat that we're consuming that may have an effect on us. But I would say if you're in the fatty meat and fasting, you're going to feel better in the 2 to 4 weeks. And again, being carnivore doesn't mean you're not going to be exposed to the things that take us down, because we're all exposed to the things that we breathe, drink, and eat. And I saw a question on COPD there, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is just another inflammatory disorder secondary to what we eat. And if you look at Salisbury, Dr. James Henry Salisbury, who was a doctor from Albany Med, graduated 1850s, he figured out that a plant-based diet is fermenting in the gut, and the bacteria yeast go up through the esophagus into the lungs or down out the rectum and affect the skin and the vagina and the penis and all the reproductive organs that cause a lot of these diseases, including chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You want to grab this question here while I'm going through the comments, marking questions. We got been keto 20 years plus. And now carnivore Dr. Kiltz, why is fat not giving me energy now?
Well, fat is always giving you energy. And so you cannot use sugar or amino acids directly for energy in the mitochondria. It must be converted to fat in the liver via insulin. So this idea that I'm not burning fat is wrong. That's the only energy your body can burn. If you look at a type 1 diabetic, they have no insulin. They get skinny because they are using their fat stores. And if you look at a liver failure patient, they also are skinny because they can't make fat. And so most people on a standard diet around the globe are eating lean meat and plants. There's no fat there. So again, it is, what are you eating? Well, it's hard to eat only adipose tissue. I don't know anyone who eats only fat. You're going to be eating fatty meat, or you might throw in some plants in there, but the cause of the damage could be meat, by the way. So all animals have different antigens. They have different barcodes that some of us may be a little bit more at risk of inflammation. So, some people are inflamed by fish or shellfish or other animals that aren't beef. I mean, ultimately, the only thing that's closest to humans is a human. And, we used to be cannibals, and for whatever reason, we're not today, understandable, but depending, I think beef is probably the closest. Maybe for some people it might be lamb or goat or elk, finding that thing that's right. But my bet is you may not be eating enough fat and you're eating too much protein. So if you look up protein poisoning and rabbit starvation, it's the proteins which break down to amino acids, which break down to sugars, which are also glycating and damaging. So that might be why you're having some difficulties where you think you're not, fat's not giving you energy. You're damaging your mitochondria. And if you look at Otto Warburg's work on cancer, basically plant sugars cause damage to the mitochondria, which cause some cells to turn into cancer cells. So even carnivores, there are many carnivores that eat a high protein, low fat diet, which is still going to give you the damage, which will damage your mitochondria. Was that simple?
Yeah. Oh, that was good.
We trained on Arctic survival in the Army, and rabbit starvation is a real thing, and we were warned about it. Like, hey, you cannot just eat rabbits and these lean animals. You have to find some fat and fish or whatever. So you have to find something if you're going to live.
And you have to eat the whole fish and not just the fillet, because that's a big problem also. But yeah, the Romans and the military, they knew this when they were out in a time of you got to eat off the land and you got to be careful what you're eating.
Yep. And if you're starving, you'll eat a whole fish. Trust me. It's not bad.
And if you look at bears, brown bears, black bears, whichever the bears that eat the salmon, I mean, they eat the head and the brain and that they're getting all of that fat, which is critical. Polar bears, their survival is the ring seal, which is highly fatty. They go after the fat and get fat. Eat fat, get fat for survival. That is so critical.
Yep.
Well, and the thing too is, like you were mentioning, attributing everything that happens to us to carnivore, like that's taking it to the other side of the extreme too, right? I mean, just because you experience something while you're eating carnivore doesn't necessarily mean it has anything to do with what you're eating. It could be something else going on that's affected from outside of your diet. It could be your hormones did something different, or whatever the case may be, whatever that is, or something changed. I can't expect the same exact thing to affect me the exact same way at 188 pounds when I'm not taking blood pressure medicine now. I'm not taking the other medications for, gout. I'm a lot more active. The situations are not the same, so I can't expect the exact same, details to work, all the way through from, when I started this to now. I have to readjust, reevaluate, and start investigating too.
I think we've all found that where what we were doing when we started the diet and what we're doing now is completely different. I mean, you go through these phases where I was eating one meal a day, then I started eating 2 meals a day, and now I'm back to 1 meal a day, and I'm constantly changing up what I'm doing based on how my body feels about it.
Yeah, listening to your body, and so in this question too, keto for 20 years. Well, keto can mean a lot of different things. I've done several different versions of the keto diet, so you don't know where you started from. And then going carnivore, like how long have you been carnivore? What is carnivore to you? Because carnivore's got different versions too. So, you really, like Dr. Kiltz said, going with the high fat, that's probably the issue. But, are you 10 days into it? Are you 100 days into it? There's a lot open here we don't know. And,
I mean, keto could still be very close to SAD.
Exactly. That's why I always
that we're still consuming quite a bit of the junk too. So
seed oils for sure, like salad dressings and dips, and processed meats and cheeses. Yeah, for sure.
Get as close to what nature provided, and there's plenty out there, and there's great variety. And I'd say that is one. Let's see. Charger Mopar, 40-year carnivore. It's better to eat the whole iguana. Absolutely, it is. Again, because you didn't leave the really the important thing, because fat again, it's twice the calories than a protein or a sugar. So why would you not eat the most important caloric dense thing that is going to fuel the Ferrari, and it's going to suppress inflammation in the gut, which is really a big cause of disease.
Only if you don't have any ducks, right, Rick?
Yeah. Rick,
Eat the ducks.
live it up to Rick to ask good questions. All right. Charger Mopar. Is it possible that the carnivore diet can cause one to be asexual? I was told this years ago and caused me to try vegetarian/vegan diet. Felt horrible, got sick, so I went back to carnivore.
It's actually the opposite. It is the vegan vegetarian diet, because the plants contain phytoestrogens, androgens, and progestins, which essentially damage the testicles and the ovaries or the hypothalamus in utero. It may even damage your eggs and sperm in the mom. And so it's the plant-based diet that contains the birth control pill and the abortion pill, because they're made from plants. So the carnivore diet actually causes you to become who and what you're meant to be.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool. It's crazy.
I started using pink Himalayan salt to seem to be much more salty and flavorful than a good salt to use if you can't afford Redmond's. I would say yes. I would say pink Himalayan's a lot better than using processed table salt.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I actually just tried the Redmonds. I like the Redmonds, but I think we had some of the Himalayan salt. Before that, I was just using kosher Morton salt. I honestly just don't think about it. I add it. I use my electrolytes. I feel fine. So,
I mean, some of the white salts have sugars in them and stuff. So I just look at if there's, and some of the Himalayan salts might too. So I'm good with it, and I use it. Just look at the ingredients and see if it says salt. If it says salt, you're good.
I mix Malden and Redmond salt together because I like the coarseness of and the flakiness of Malden's, and I throw in a little Redmond, so it's kind of a mix. It's almost 1-to-1, but that's my favorite.
It's a good carnivore tip.
Yeah.
JT, what salts are you using?
I just use Redmond's now. I thought everybody was hyping it up, but it has such a wonderful flavor. It really is good. I've never tried the pink Himalayan, so I can't speak on that.
I love Redmond salt. That's all I use anymore. All right. So Callie's got another question here. Has anyone been able to get off their thyroid meds? I've heard iodine could replace it. That's not Dr. Kiltz. That the question you can answer?
Yeah, I've seen it time and time again. You get off your thyroid meds, your diabetic meds, your hypertension meds, your ADHD, OCD meds, your high cholesterol meds. I mean, you get off 99% of your drugs by going carnivore, fatty meat, and fasting, I believe. And thyroid disease is one of the most common because plants contain anti-thyroid chemicals, or they contain thyroid-like or estrogen-like, but they're just not the same thing as ours. So your body either damages the thyroid gland or it shuts off your normal production because your body says, oh, I've got this plant thyroid chemical hormone that my body says I'm okay, but in fact it's not okay.
I have heard of a lot of people getting off their thyroid medications, and that is one of the main reasons I approached my mom and wanted my mom to do just even try keto. You know, I believe carnivore. I eat carnivore. I didn't know if my mom would go carnivore, but I was like, if I could just get her into the keto things, you know, because she only ate vegetables and salad all the time, and suffers from Hashimoto. And I'm like, listen, you know, you've had this issue, and here's Nisha Berry, who's had the same issue, started eating like this, and went into remission, completely turned it around. If you can do that and get off this medication, you know, and, you know, feel so much better, it's worth it to you, right? And so my mom eats carnivore now, by the way.
Nice.
It's awesome.
It's so simple. It's so simple. This, you know, it's just for me, it's bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt, and then I throw in Kiltz's ice cream from time to time. Important for everyone to know: amino acids and simple sugars they metabolize the same in the human body. So this idea that I need a bunch of protein is not true. You have a very low requirement for amino acids. You have a high requirement for fat. So you're either going to eat it or your body's going to make it. And your body makes it out of amino acids and simple sugars quite readily. You're not turning over your muscles very rapidly. The amino acids are critical for protein production, and sugars are critical for glycosylation. Most people don't know what glycosylation is, but sugars are not for energy directly. They're for making glycoproteins, lipoglycoproteins, which are critical for your survival.
And that's gluconeogenesis, right? That's what you're talking about. That's basically what you're talking about.
Glycosylation. So everyone knows about hemoglobin A1C. They measure their hemoglobin A1C. If it's elevated, it says they are diabetic or pre-diabetic. But the sugars from plants can bind to anything and cause rust. So that's called glycation as opposed to glycosylation. 80% of our proteins are glycosylated. That means 80% of the proteins have a sugar molecule that's added to it. And without that properly being done, we would be dead or have diseases. So the gluconeogenesis is we make sugars. Well, you know of no one that doesn't make sugar. Ultimately,
Right.
a low sugar is really like a rarity in the universe without a drug. So, but as common is diseases of glycosylation. Many of them exist. And so people talk about the glycobiome, and I've talked about this for a while now, that really no one is understanding that sugars are critical for glycosylation, not for energy. But we've kind of focused on the keto switch. Oh, it's energy, then it's fat for energy, when in fact it's never sugars for energy. It's always fatty acids, because when you don't have fat in your body, you will die fast.
So
I've heard Dr. Barry. Oh, I'm sorry. I've
Hey,
heard
so
Dr. Barry talk about that issue too, as far as like people's A1C going up, even after going carnivore for an extended amount of time. And he has stated that it's because the actual red blood cells are living longer. You feel that that's what's happening as well?
Well, it's a combination of the red blood cells are lasting longer, and it may be a high protein diet and not a high fat diet, and the liver damage. So the liver is responsible for kind of cleaning all that up. And if the liver's damaged, so type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance, I believe, is liver damage. So as the liver is damaged, the function of the liver drops, the ability of the liver to convert the sugars and amino acids to fat drops. So your serum glucose and your serum amino acid levels rise, and you're still getting damaged. So you may be carnivore, but you don't know what your liver healing is doing yet. And so it takes longer for the liver to heal in all of this. I mean, think about the number of people with fatty liver disease. Huge. And how do you properly measure it? It's not so easy to measure and figure it out, but fatty liver is the first stage to sclerosis, fibrosis, cirrhosis, and then liver failure and death. And so it's the liver that's responsible for insulin resistance. Insulin is fine. Insulin's job is to convert amino acids and simple sugars in the liver to fat. It does a really good job at it. We would admit that, right? So and again, it's a hard one to figure out, but there's something called hepatogenous diabetes. Most people have not heard of it, but that's the cause of insulin resistance and fatty liver and all the diseases we suffer from, because, I eat a low carb diet, but why am I not healing? Well, it's because your liver may be so damaged, and it may take a while for it to heal, and it may never heal.
Hey, so Doc, when we talk in common terms of, say, getting fat adapted, right? In your first couple weeks, what is actually happening there? Like since you're saying we're not burning sugar, which is great, but how does that actually look in our body when we get fat adapted?
Well, it really means your level of plant poisons are dropping. So just think about it. There's something called a keto, a gluco keto, the ratio, and Thomas Seyfried kind of talks about this, and it may be keto, gluto, or I can't remember which one it is, but basically when you lower your sugar level, your ketones are higher. When the glucose is higher, it appears like your ketones are lower, but it's not. It's the ratio is the problem. So as you lower your serum sugar level, then you're lowering the damage from the sugars, which you think, again, as you lower sugars, you consider yourself fat adapted. But in fact, you're always burning fat, but you have more plant sugars, plant antigens, plant chemicals, which cause the damage to the mitochondria or the liver or other cells of your body, including the brain, which causes ADHD, OCD, depression, and all the problems that we're talking about. So fat adaptation is not even true. It just means your level, like if if you smoke cigarettes or drink caffeine or use any other drugs, your levels are high of the nicotine, caffeine, or the opiates, right? So what you want to do is you want to get those things low or no in your bloodstream. So fat adaptation means you're actually lowering your glucose levels, and now you're not damaging your body. Glucose, glucose is critical. There are nine sugars in the human body that are responsible for glycosylation, and glucose is just one of them. It's the most famous one. And so again, your body always burns fat. Simple.
Interesting.
The GKI, glucoketo index, and you want it under 2, basically.
So the keto flu is actually literally it's carbohydrate addiction withdrawals.
That's all it is.
Detox.
We're withdrawing. Go through caffeine withdrawal or tobacco, nicotine withdrawal, or heroin, cocaine, marijuana, or any other drug that your body is addicted to. Now, addiction means your body wants it, but it doesn't need it. Okay. And so it is just a withdrawal. Keto flu is just your body says, I need it and want it. I mean, people have terrible physiologic symptoms withdrawing from many drugs, alcohol, tobacco, caffeine, heroin. Why do you think there's such a trouble in this world? And what's the number one drug? I just got through reading a book called Sugar by James Walden. It's slavery to obesity.
Wow.
And if you think about the world has been controlled by the push for sugars, rum, cotton, hemp, all the plants, which ultimately are the controlling foods of the world. The pharaohs, the priest, the pope, the president figured out, if I feed the masses mush, you will be addicted to it, and you will line up. You will do everything I ask you to do in order to get that daily amount of heroin, cocaine, marijuana, sugars, pasta, bread, whatever it is, which is so addicting that we will kill for it.
You're much more controllable whenever you are addicted and enslaved to your desires, whatever that may be. And if they can exploit it to make it, the tests back up that you should eat your fruits and vegetables. All the studies show that that's what's healthy. And even the American Diabetes Associations will let you know exactly how to cure this issue. Eating, whatever. So, that's the agenda, and it's been pushed for so long. Because like you said, they know that's how they can control the masses much easier than by force, right?
and ultimately there's some force to it because the marketing force is where the money is, right? All I need to do is tell you the story that fruits, fiber, vegetables, seeds, and nuts are good for you, and meat. And I just saw another article that meat's responsible for every disease you can imagine, and yet we never see it in the toilet. And fatty meat is the most expensive thing you can eat. I go to a restaurant and I always try to go to a restaurant with the best ribeye, bone-in ribeye, the fattiest ribeye, the Wagyu A5 ribeye, and it's the most expensive thing. And why is that? It's in order to keep the masses from eating it. And then we kind of follow it up with the simplicity of, well, like meat causes cancer, and fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts and fiber are important for you. Deadly.
So you make people feel good about their healthy choices. Right?
That's right. And so, I eat some French fries from time to time with the grease all over it, and I dip it in mayonnaise and salt, and it's a simple sugar. You see, here's the interesting part of simple sugars. That's why cane sugar and things like French fries are not the killer in small amounts. In large amounts. So if you're one of those people that can't say no, well, then you should always be no. But I'm really great at minimizing. I realize that, I do things in life that are dangerous. Fly airplanes, I walk across the street, I drive a car, and those things are damaging to us. So, as a carnivore, does it mean you can never eat a plant? No, it doesn't mean you can never eat a plant. But if you want to be the purist, it's bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt, or fatty meat, salt water. But we're in a world of connections, right? Do I ever have a cigar? Like I hold it like this with my buddies and my glass of wine that I don't drink anyway. But we are the hunters of the world, and we sometimes get together in ways that we're say like you can never do that. But in fact, minimizing and adding fat is really the key.
That's the magic. Yeah, the fat.
The fat. So if you feed a cow fat, the cow will die.
Right.
Because the fat kills the microbes in the rumen, and the microbes in the rumen are critical. But when you eat fat, it kills the microbes in the gut that are never required.
That's why we have toilet time.
Absolutely. And so that's why eating fat, that's why James Henry Salisbury figured out if I feed my men fatty meat, they're going to get better because you kill the microbes. And if you eat plants, again, it's crazy. You're simply feeding the microbes that then make alcohol, aldehyde, heat, gas, and methane, which is another cause of disease. So our children are eating a plant-based low-fat diet, proteins, which all feed the microbes, which make the alcohol, which makes them all ADHD, OC, dyslexia, depression, and all those things, criminality and suicidality.
Yep, that's huge. My son switched over to carnivore this year in the summertime on his own decision, which is great. I just set the example. I didn't want to be the dad that forces a 14-year-old kid to do something. And he has shaved 2 minutes off his 2-mile time, placed in his first race and beat guys he's never beat before. And for the first time, he ran 6 miles and said, "Dad, I couldn't run 3 miles before this diet." And he lost 10 pounds. And I didn't know where he's going to lose the weight. He just leaned up and looks like an athlete now. It's crazy.
I was talking with my son on that issue. We spent 45 minutes between church and the live here today, and went for a walk, and was talking with my son about that issue exactly. He's 14 years old. I said, "Son, have you thought about this carnivore thing?" "Well, no, but I was talking with my teacher about it. She was talking about all these sugars that we needed, and I kind of wish you were there to tell her, our body does not have an essential need for sugar." And I was like,
yeah.
He's not doing the whole carnivore thing. He does mostly hamburger meat right now. But good. Just knowing that he knows makes it better for me. Like, I can't make you do certain things. I mean, you eat what I bring into the house, but I'm not making my kids, eat this way. I hope they do, but them knowing the difference and making that decision for themselves is huge to me too, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
Be the example.
Yeah,
Yes.
can lead a horse. You can lead a horse to knowledge, but you can't make him think, right?
That's right.
That's right. Hey guys in the chat, anybody, if you got questions, make sure you put in cues in front of it. I'm searching diligently, trying to find your questions. And of course, we thank you for the super chats for those channels that are monetized.
Yes.
That automatically gets your question put into the start zone here. We'll be looking for it. So let's answer this one. We got Jazzy Jude here says, I do electrolytes and Redmond salt on meat daily. Is that too much salt? I would say no. It depends. I mean, unless you're just pouring the salt on, it shouldn't be.
It's interesting. James D'Antorio, I can't remember but basically Salt Fix, excess salt is excreted, excess sugar is stored as fat. And so our body is capable. And, if it's too salty, you're going to spit it out. But is there such thing as too sweet?
Yeah. In fact, they make a bliss point by adding salt. And so when you say you eat French fries, right? I assume you're not talking about McDonald's French fries because they have 14 ingredients in those French fries. You're probably talking about real potatoes and lard, right?
Oh, absolutely. And they used to make them properly. They used to make the real French fries. And again, if it's because they sprinkle them and they coat them and things like that now. But again, a simple potato without the skin that is simplified into simple sugar. If you have it from time to time, your body's able to send it to the liver. Insulin goes up and it converts it to fat. You see, insulin's job is to make fat in the liver. It's not to control your sugars. It's not what insulin does. Insulin converts amino acids and simple sugars in the liver to fat. And so, yeah, it's a quite amazing concept. I think most of our metabolic pathways are wrong, and they're not happening like over here and over here. It's this beautiful, amazing dance of the universe going on in the cells at light speed. They're happening so fast. And so when all the metabolic pathways are sort of written out, we think that, wow, it's so simple. It's not.
Right.
Very complex.
All right. We got this question here. Dr. Kiltz, your answer about COPD, would that also apply to emphysema?
Absolutely. Whatever the disease is, it's caused by inflammation. Inflammation is mainly a plant-based, low animal fat diet is the cause. Now, even a carnivore, we may be exposed to viruses and bugs and microbes that may take us down. I mean, that's the leading cause of disease in the globe for eternity. And so, but yeah, absolutely. If you up the fat, eat less frequently, you will significantly reduce your risk of COPD, emphysema, which are all, I used to work at the VA in my residency in internal medicine years ago, and tremendous amount of emphysema and COPD. Smoking is one of the leading causes of that, but I would add that a plant-based low animal fat diet is a culprit, but most people don't realize that. And there are people getting lung cancer that don't smoke. It's secondary to plant-based low animal fat diet and eating 3 to 6 plant-based low animal fat meals a day.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Didn't know it was possible.
Yeah, it's again, even if you're a vegan, vegetarian, or Mediterranean, if you add at least half of the weight of your food as fat, and you eat less frequently, and you simplify the sugars, you have a better chance of being healthy. The challenge is that plant proteins amino acids aren't easily accessible to our body. And everyone talks about plant proteins. To me, a protein comes from a muscle, although the adipose tissue contains sugars, amino acids, and fatty acids, and all the minerals and vitamins you need. So it would be interesting to see someone who eats purely adipose tissue and how long they can do that. I've not seen it, so I've not been able to really measure it.
I think Dr. Kenobi kind of touches on that simple starches thing when he talked about in his video. He actually had the discussion on seed oils and how dangerous they are. And he talked about a couple different groups of people. One were in Indonesia. I think they eat mostly sweet potatoes. And another one was in the Pacific Islands where they eat a lot of coconut fat, coconut oil, and then they eat fish too. And these guys were all super healthy, like no cancer. So they are primarily plant-based, but it's very different than our plant-based, right?
Absolutely. And, they're not all packaged. And sort of if you have to go out and hunt and gather for your foods, you're likely eating less and you're eating what nature provides. And I'd say that, those are important points.
Absolutely.
I see a question on insulin resistance, and I think we covered that. Just think of insulin resistance as liver damage, and it is so common. Liver damage is insulin resistance. Type 1 diabetes is pancreatic damage, and type 2 diabetes is liver damage.
So can that be reversed? I know type 2 diabetes can, but can the liver damage actually be reversed through this?
Yeah, the liver is one of the most resilient and regenerative organs around. That's why they can take half your liver and donate to someone else, and you'll regenerate your liver. It all depends on how damaged it is and how cirrhotic it is. And so by going, in my opinion, by going keto, carnivore, fasting, and fat, then you'll begin to heal your liver. The liver's job is to convert amino acids and simple sugars to fat via insulin. That simplifies the story of insulin resistance. And if you look up hepatogenous diabetes, the American Diabetic Association and the World Health Organization does not recognize that diagnosis, although it is real. And so anyone with cirrhosis is going to have a high insulin and a high glucose level, yet they're emaciated and skinny. Well, I thought insulin's job was to put sugar into the cell and then to make fat. It's not. Insulin's job is to make fat in the liver, and I'll bet $1 billion on that simple story. The problem is that we keep on going back to what others have taught us. Maybe it's wrong. The insulin resistance story is so complicated, I don't even know how to figure it out. But when I figured out that insulin's job is to make fat in the liver via amino acids and simple sugars, it simplified the story.
Outstanding. All right, so we got a question here. It looks like this is for everyone. What is everyone going to eat this evening? Well, I'm in the middle of a 48-hour fast, so I won't be eating this evening. Sean, we'll come all the way around. We'll do Dr. Kiltz last. Sean, what's yours?
Eggs or hamburger patties.
Larry, what are you doing tonight for dinner?
So I normally eat hamburger almost every day, but tonight is ribeyes because I have my son with me. He's got a soccer game. First, we're going to finish the soccer game, and we're going to go out and get some good Texas barbecue, which good Texas barbecue is when you get what they call extra moist brisket. And extra moist means it's got fat all in through it, and it's nice and smoked. So we're getting some of that, and then I'm going to do ribeyes.
What are burnt ends?
Burnt ends are when you take either brisket or some people do it with pork, and you're going to smoke it down, and you're going to basically just keep glazing it with a barbecue sauce that's probably going to be pretty high in sugar, and it's going to caramelize it, and it's going to become like little meat candy balls that you just melt in your mouth.
Yeah,
that's a Texan favorite, I think.
No. Texas does not do burnt ends. Texas is smoke only. That's real barbecue.
Well,
real barbecue, if you put sauce on it, you have bad barbecue because you don't need sauce.
Yep.
These are fighting words depending on where your part of the country you're in.
Right.
JT, what are you having for dinner tonight?
I'm making some fried chicken and some animal lard I just picked up from the local beef farm. So, gonna see how crispy I can get that skin. Ooh, it's gonna be good.
Sounds good.
That'll be good.
I'm having leftover ribeye.
Oh yeah.
And it's sort of I just
Put
love
that back
the
up. Put that back up, Dr. Kiltz. Let me get you on here. There we go. Come on. There we go.
Oh,
Leftover
wow.
ribeye.
Oh
Nice.
yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
It's
Yeah,
the
it looks
best.
good.
It's the best.
Oh, that looks good.
It's the
We
best.
made some Kiltz ice cream last night, so I'm gonna have that after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
got.
love Kiltz ice
I'm not.
cream.
I'm not having that tonight. And I'll do a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3-day fast the first 3 days of the month, and I typically do a 2-day fast a couple times a month.
Well,
And
that's
the 5
going to answer our next question. So
fasting is lasting. So fasting again, a 3 to 5 day fast is the very best fast you can do. You got to empty the gut. As long as there's food inside the gut, you're secreting you're secreting sugars and amino acids to the liver, and fat goes to the lymphatics. Most of us are not eating fat; we're eating amino acids and plants. So you're constantly fueling the liver. That's why the damage to the liver is happening younger and younger and younger. 3 to 6 plant-based, protein-based meals a day. Your gut is always full of food. The day you're born to the day you die, the liver never gets a rest. And that's why the 3 to 5 day fasting is important. And that's why I recommend a fatty meat. And if you're going to eat the plants, simplify them and lower the volume.
absolutely. I do a 2-day fast every other week. Of course, we're doing OMAD just about every day of the week. You know, sometimes I'll eat 2 meals a day, but most days I'm doing one meal a day. I do a 48-hour every other week, and then I'm planning to do a 3 to 5 day fast. Probably twice a year. Anybody else want to talk on fasting?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, it really makes sense the way you laid that out, Dr. Kiltz, about your gut being full from birth, cradle to grave. I mean, basically,
that's it.
And your liver getting. And I've never heard it put that way, and I like that. I'm going to start using. I'm going to rip that off just for your permission.
You got it. It's yours. It's yours. Again, I think of the gut as a bucket, and our buckets are full again from cradle to grave. And if you simply fast, if you do 1 meal a day or less, eat no matter what the diet is, you'll be a lot healthier than you ever imagined.
Right.
That's right.
I did intermittent fasting.
Yeah, intermittent fasting. Anyone had a DEXA scan, got mine, found out I was skinny fat, 23% fat, 6'3", only 168 pounds. Dr. Kill, what body fat should I be shooting for at 51 years of age?
There is none. All of our bodies are perfect the way they are. If you simply go carnivore in 2 to 4 weeks, you'll eliminate the toxins and the inflammation. So if there's a famine and you're skinny, you're dead fast. This idea that there's ideal body weight, there is not. It all depends on the season, the lifestyle, where you live, how often you eat. But fat and adipose tissue cause no disease. And so this idea that we're all supposed to look like Keto Savage is incorrect. Again, fat causes no disease. So I don't know what that number is. I don't measure that stuff anyway, in my opinion. What body weight do you want to be? Pick it up and be it. And again, visualize first, and that's it. So that's why vision boarding is critical. But, you're going to get a test and someone's going to say, oh, my God, visceral fat does not cause disease. The cause of visceral fat is what got you sick, which is plant-based, low-fat diet. That's all it is.
That was my question. So the difference between visceral and like subcutaneous fat, right? So the visceral fat is actually a symptom of eating plants. Is that right?
Yeah. So if you're obese, let's just say obesity is a sign of disease because it means you're likely a plant-based eater. I mean, how many carnivores that are carnivore for years are overweight?
Yeah.
Not many. And so we're measuring people and blaming the fat, visceral fat, intramuscular fat, bone marrow fat, subcutaneous fat, perirenal or nephric fat. You're basically, as you eat food, your body is getting into the storage stage, right? The fall is storage time. Let's get ready for winter. My bet is we had very little access to food throughout the winter. And so you better store the fat. You only burn fat for energy. You never burn sugars for energy ever. So now you're utilizing your fat stores, which contain amino acids for protein building, sugars for glycosylation, and all the minerals and vitamins, fatty acids, and cholesterol your body requires. So think about it. A bear gets extra fat for hibernation, and they gestate and they create 1 to 4 cubs, and they only lose fat. They lose no muscle and no bone. So again, our concepts are wrong. There is no optimal body size at all. That's my opinion.
Okay.
All right. Where we at here? All right. How many grams of protein should an adult woman in her 60s have daily?
I have no idea.
I have
I have no idea. A lot less than they tell us, is my opinion. Again, we know of almost no one that is amino acid or protein poor. The diseases are so rare. Our problem is plant damage, and that's the problem. So people talk a milligram per kilogram lean body weight. I don't think there's really been any true studies to prove that.
Well, I mean, if you want to know the answer, honestly, just go cook you some ribeye or some hamburger meat or whatever. Eat all you want until your body says you're full. Figure out how much you ate, write that number down, and then do that for each meal. That's what I would say. Because honestly, even all the algorithms and the charts that you can plug these numbers into are based off of a system of someone eating a standard American diet when they research this, not off of eating the proper human diet and what your body needs. So there's honestly no way to truly and honestly answer that question. I don't feel like, unless I'm wrong,
Even in the weight in the building muscle world, I bet they're still eating too much protein, and again, it's part of the damage. You want to be skinnier, eat less, move more. If you want to be fatter, eat more and move less.
I think it stems from our society, what we believe. The overall consensus is get all you can all you get, and sit on the can, right? Like, just hoard it all up, and we carry that mentality into everything that we lay our hands to.
Well, and I think every diet you look at is a macro counting diet of some type, including keto, except for this one. This is the first. That's why it's the first one I've succeeded at. I think I never look at any macros other than when I'm buying meat to make sure it has a lot of fat in it and looks fatty, and then I add butter to it. And I don't count. I have no clue, and I don't care. But I guarantee you the amount of protein and fat I need is different than Sean's and different Dr. Kiltz's, because we're all different people. So we're not exact. Right. So a 51-year-old woman or whatever, I have no idea. But 57-year-old man, I can't tell you either. But 57-year-old Larry, I can tell you, is when I get full, that's when I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our problem is not nutritional deficiencies. That doesn't exist. Again, everyone says, well, you're nutritionally deficient of this or that. Not likely. You're poisoned by plants.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cause of disease.
Yeah, anti-nutrients and it's
well,
crazy.
if your mitochondria always uses fat, and I'm sorry if this is a little off the thing, but it just spurred into my brain. Your mitochondria are always using fat, and if you're feeding it not fat, you're feeding it toxic plant chemicals, which obviously you can get a little bit of plant fat, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call that. But if your body's not getting what it needs, even from those sources, where is it pulling the rest to work from? Or is that when the disease? It's not like it can rob it from somewhere else, right? Because you're not giving it to your body.
Well, drink a pint of alcohol every day.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to your body? Okay, it gets damaged and diseased. Okay. So just think of the real problem is toxins
Yeah.
that adversely affect every cell of our body. So our real problem has nothing to do with lack of fat. There's almost no one that is severely anorexic walking around in a normal life, correct?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So no one you know has no fat circulating in its bloodstream, correct?
Right.
So if you've got fat everywhere, short chain, medium chain, long chain fatty acids, monodi and triglycerides, acetyl-CoA it's a 2-carbon atom that's cleaved from fat at the speed of light. So glucose must go down to pyruvate and then converted to acetyl-CoA. So why would you ever use sugar in the mitochondria when you have fat everywhere? Never made sense to me. Okay. And again, most people will claim that keto means you burn sugar and then you burn fat. I will bet it's wrong. It's so wrong. And so if I add a plant toxin, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, cyanide, nicotine, opium, where does it come from? A poppy plant, right?
A plant.
Poppy seeds. So if I feed that to someone, what does that do to your energy? There's nothing to do with your energy. It just is a toxin that's going to make some cellular function be dysfunctional.
Right.
And so if you think about the majority of our diseases, they're not related. They're not really related to keto or carnivore in the way you think it is. It's simply a toxin. And the toxins are either sugars or they're chemicals or they're other antigens. Think of COVID virus. The COVID virus has a spike protein and then a sugar on top of it. It's the sugar on the protein that actually turns out to be the cause of inflammation, not the protein. And so the sugars are easily changed. These organisms are smart as shit. They're just changing the sugars so that now your body is going to say, oh, come on in. You're okay. You're not foreign, because that organism has changed the sugars. It's changed the barcode. It's going to get right past the immune system. And so then it's going to reproduce in your cells and it's going to cause all the damage and disease. So it turns out that people are allergic to plants more than allergic to meat. If you think about it, seeds, nuts, fruits, and vegetables are the most immunogenic or anaphylactic. My daughter would die to a banana and avocado. People die. And then the other is shellfish, because shellfish have some of their sugars that are the label, and the human leukocyte antigens, HLA, or your genetic code has sugars on them. It's the sugars that turn out to be the cause of the adverse reactions more than anything. And so
do you think that can be done, like that anaphylactic reaction can eventually be overcome in time? Do you think that once you detox your system, like that reaction to, say, shellfish or something like that goes away, and now you can have shellfish?
Well, the opposite is more true than that one. So it's more likely that you've eaten it all your life and then suddenly you have an anaphylactic reaction. For some reason, it changes its sugars and it changes its antigenicity. Antigenicity means it's more likely to cause redness, swelling, pain, dysfunction, and or damage or disease and death of the organism. And anaphylactic reactions are quite common. My partner ate crab one day and she almost died when she had eaten crab before with no problem. And so is it possible that you might be able to consume it? Maybe, but I think the opposite is more likely to happen, where you consume it and then one day you're not.
I'll never forget popping 50 of Benadryl or diphenhydramine and 0.03 to 0.05 milligrams of epinephrine for them anaphylactic reactions.
Yeah.
Airways closing up. Yeah.
That's right. And so these organisms have methods to kill things. We're just another thing that's eating its organisms, its reproductive tissue. So, bugs and plants all want to be alive and they don't want to die. So they've got mechanisms to kill the microbes, the macrobes, and we're just another macrobe. It's kind of crazy.
That's right. Yeah. Plants are trying to kill you.
Occam's razor says the simple answer is the one. Science in general is complicated, but the story here is simple. Plants are the predators and we are the prey. That's really the simplest answer to this, which kind of is remarkable. And can you eat a sugar? You can, but it's highly addicting, and in excess amounts, it causes damage. But a small amount of a plant sugar may be the anaphylactic reaction that takes you down. If you think about every disease as an allergy, every disease is simply an allergy. Heart disease is just a chronic allergy. Cancer is a chronic allergy. So think of the anaphylactic reaction that'll kill you fast, but they're all just low and slow allergic reactions that are happening to cells of your body that eventually cause cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, or liver failure. All it is.
Somebody's asking a question about asking questions. So the system is you ask questions, I find them, I star them, and puts them on another screen where I hold them all in check, and I work my way through them. If you do a super chat, then that'll bump your question to the top. And we are working our way through it. We've been going an hour and 27 or 21 minutes. Got 127 people in here. I'm getting a lot of comments. I appreciate you guys. We're working our way through them. We appreciate Dr. Kiltz to be here to answer them. And, we're going to try to get everybody's questions if we can, but, we're doing our best to manage the chaos of the chat room. And we've all been there. Every one of us in this room knows how it is. So if you got questions, please put Q's in front of them, and we'll work our way through and we'll answer to the best of our ability. All right, moving on to this one. Question: what is insulin resistant, and how do you know if you are insulin resistant?
Hemoglobin A1C is a good marker. Above 6 may say I'm insulin resistant. A high fasting glucose or high fasting insulin levels may tell you that. And think of insulin resistance as liver damage. And maybe a liver ultrasound or a CT MRI may give you some of that. But that's where I think it's not so easy. But if you're a plant eater, you're likely somewhat insulin resistant.
Question: gonna try addressing. I can't pronounce that. What is that?
Diamond oxide.
Diamond oxide. Yeah.
And methyltransferases.
Made my fiber for the most with my cell issues. I don't even know how to answer that. So.
Drugs to try to heal disease, and diet is the best way to do that by going carnivore and fatty meat and fasting.
Okay. Let's see here. Hey, Dr. Kiltz, when will your white coffee cups be back in stock?
Okay, I've got to do a bunch of whites. I've got I know I've been doing black and blue and my this is Starry Night, which is kind of a dark brown with gold specks, but I will do those next.
Nice.
I got you. We may already have some.
One
I'll
of your
check.
bowls for the ice cream.
Oh yeah, I use cups. See, I use a cup for my ice cream, so I only have a small amount.
Hey, there you go. I'm working on it, Dr. Kiltz. I'm working
So
on
let me
it.
tell you, I tried your ice cream, and I like carnivore style ice cream. It was okay, but it's much better if you're ketovore. It needs a little bit of sugar to it to be ice cream.
Look, see, again, back to the understanding that amino acids and simple sugars both metabolize the same. The majority of plant sugars are not even sweet, but they still have the same effect in your body. So to me, a little bit of cane sugar, honey, or fruit Small amounts from time to time are okay. Again, protein and sugars both go to the liver via insulin converted to fat. So they have the same effect. So if you have small amounts of cane sugar or honey or fruit, but I prefer the cane sugar because it's the purest. It has the least amount of plant microbial antigens, which I think also have adverse effects on our body.
Good tip.
Naturally or nutritionally speaking, how does pork, veal, and beef compare to each other? Well, that's a question.
The fatty ruminant beef's going to give you a lot better ratio of fat to protein and meet your satiation needs more than the other ones, the monogastric animals, for one. What about you?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know the real long-term value of fatty pork or fatty veal or fatty beef, and the fact that the ruminant versus the non-ruminant, I don't think we've solved that question personally. Again, we have biases. I mean, Iberian ham. Have you ever had Iberian ham where they're free range, they eat acorns or something like that? It's quite amazing. So, but I love pork belly, but I think beef. If you look at the omega-3 to 6s, it's got the very best ratio, but I don't think we've solved that answer either, that question.
Only reason I speak to that, I guess I should preface, because like from eating, I can tell a difference from eating a ribeye every single day, and then like I run short on cash, so I buy 10 pounds of ground beef and eat hamburger patties. I can tell a difference between what I'm eating in my body because I eat the same thing every day. I don't know if it's because of the change or the makeup of the fillers or whatnot, but I can tell a little bit of a difference, and even more so when I go off of beef onto, like, say I have chicken wings or, fish or, whatever I have. Like, I could tell the difference from coming off the beef into that. Because maybe it's because I eat the same literal thing every single day. Or maybe it's not. I don't know.
I know that. So yesterday, I went to the meetup with Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, and they had brisket, and Larry was talking about this earlier, that it was wet brisket. It was fatty. It was really good. And I had my share of it, trust me. And today I am not even stressing about fasting. But if I had ate, say, pork yesterday, or if I ate fried chicken, I love fried chicken once a week. But if I eat fried chicken the next day by noon, I'm like, hey, I got to eat. I need more nutrition in my system. So that's my perspective on it. Fatty red meat seems to be the most nutritious. I don't know if there's anything out there that's actually done a study into that or not, but.
Well, I think this is the fat to protein ratio you're looking for, because you are looking for extra fat, and it's just not there naturally in like pork. Well, a lot of pork cuts and a lot of chicken, it's not there. So you have to add fat to your diet, and it's probably fine.
Well, but I've added fat to my diet, but it's that nutritional point there. Even adding butter or something to your diet, or adding lard to your cooking that fried chicken, doesn't have the same quality as a good ribeye or brisket, or even a sirloin that I've added butter to.
I like pork belly with a 2-to-1 fat to protein, and I'll eat it raw. I slice it. It is just so good. And again, I think that I don't know we have any proof that versus beef is really that different in our survival. Long term, I eat only this. I mean, I primarily eat fatty meat, beef, and I eat a lot of raw beef. I'll dry age it in the refrigerator, slice it up, and I make sure I get the fattiest cuts.
Nice.
I think we've answered this question kind of repetitively, but I'll throw it back up here. So are you saying that my heart attack fries, plantains fried in tallow, are actually okay to eat from time to time? And I think the answer to that would be yes.
I think yes, small amounts, but I don't know. The plantains are more like a banana, and they contain the seeds, and the seeds may be more antigenic, and that may be a little bit of an issue. That's why I go to French fries, no skin, and simplified sugars. So the sugars are simplified and taken to the liver and converted to fat fast. Now, the seeds may be more resistant to that breakdown and may be more antigenic or more inflammatory. So I'm not a plantain eater, but I'm pretty sure plantains are more like bananas, which I think are more antigenic. So I would always say go to Kiltz's fries.
You're making me hungry. So we got, I have emphysema, but I can't eat less frequent when I'm not fasting because I've had the gastric bypass. Any suggestions?
I would say that's not true. You've been lied to, especially in the people with gastric bypass. Now they say you got to eat 3 to 6 meals a day. The cells of the body still work the same. The fat is the fuel, not the food you eat right now. The food you eat must be converted to fat in order to be the fuel for your mitochondria, unless you're eating fat. And most people I know are eating very low fat diets. And so I would say that going carnivore and fasting are the very best things you can do. You have to refeed the brain because we brainwash people to believe bypass surgery. Well, the gastric bypass means you could just eat less, which helps you lose weight, but the rest of your body still works exactly the same.
Yeah.
All right. Callie here
troll
says,
in the comments, John.
what's that?
I think you got a troll in the comments, just letting you know.
Me or who's he on?
I don't know, but he's in the comments, that's for sure.
Okay, I'll look for him in just a second here. All right. I tried eating beef from my butcher rather than store-bought, but is it truly better for me meaning is store-bought beef filled with bad stuff? ? You guys work on that. I'm going to find who this is.
Trying beef from the butcher. Yeah,
I think store-bought beef is good. Again, the cheapest beef is still better than the most expensive plant, and so that's the kicker here. I don't think it's Wegmans, Costco, Walmart. Find some great fatty meat. Get to know the butchers at all those markets. And again, but if the rancher, the farmer, the local, that's really good.
Yeah,
I got all my results on store-bought meat. So, and I did not get grass-fed. It was all grain-fed. Just because it was more convenient. I actually like the grain-fed flavor better. That's just me. And I got great results. So you don't have to do grass-fed. Maybe it's better. I don't know. But you don't need it. That's for sure.
yeah. I go to the butcher. I get just because of the selection that we have around here. He's hooked me up ever since I started eating this way. I can get what I need, what I like. Great quality. The price where I am isn't very different. It's not grass-fed, grass-finished. What do you call panda massage? Whatever you call that. A5. I don't know that I've ever had any real Wagyu beef either.
Me neither. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Life is not yet. Always.
Yeah, not yet. I'm not opposed to it at all. The funny thing, I meant to tell you also, Dr. Kiltz, about the airplane thing. I said I've never been in an airplane either. And I was telling myself, because I'm scared of heights, man. I don't know. It might freak me out. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not after carnivore.
I learned to fly at 55. And so, it's always adventuring to something new and different.
You seen any UFOs while you're flying around?
I can't tell you.
Oh, come on!
I'm sorry. I've been sworn to secrecy.
Hey,
now, if you see me in the air, you'd say there's a UFO.
In Texas, our grocery store here, we have an HEB grocery store, we call it, and they sell Wagyu burgers, and I get those all the time, and they are amazing. I just got to tell you, they're completely different than anything else you try.
Can we put a new question up there?
Yeah, I got another one.
Put a new one up there.
All right, where am I at? Yep, got that one. Sorry. I tried to eat beef from my butcher rather than got that one too. Sorry. Dr. Kiltz, will you be planning to do a meetup in Sarasota
in the
sometime
new
soon?
year? We're planning in the new year. When it's wintry cold up here, I'll be down there.
Snowbird. He's a snowbird.
But I do love the snow. I'm from LA, but I love upstate New York. It's beautiful.
Yeah. This time of year
Here's
is
a good
fantastic.
question. I heard that the word type 3 diabetes is applied to dementia. What's your thoughts?
Alzheimer's.
Again, it's a plant-based disease. We just like to label them in medicine, type 1, type 2, type 3. They're confusing in general, but it's inflammation that's caused dementia, and all diseases are caused by a high plant-based, high sugar diet, low animal fat. So, whatever you want to call it, type 1, type 2, type 3. I get confused by them. People do also, but yeah, it's caused by plants.
Yep. My mom died of Alzheimer's in 2017, and her last 10 years were all sugar and plant-based, 100% pretty much. That's all she ate. For being in the hospital, but even before that, when she started slipping, she was eating like a box of Wheat Thins with, spread cheese on it and stuff. That's what she used to eat all day and not eat real meals. And then she just started going downhill quick. Terrible.
And in the hospitals, the doctors, the nursing homes are all basically feeding our family members plant-based, low animal fat. And so I think that's something we need to sort of really begin to focus on is what are we feeding people in the hospitals or the nursing homes? It's plant-based, low-fat diets, which it's causing exactly that. And I used to eat that way. I used to love Ritz crackers and Doritos and cheese spreads. And, we didn't know any better. We're not, we're told these are healthy things.
It's all an awareness, right?
Carnivore
awareness.
Soldier.
That's it.
What's it now?
Yeah, the trolls on your channel.
Oh, my channel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's see where we're at here. See my Q question above. Frustrated nurse carnivore in Texas. Did I miss a question?
We're all frustrated in the car, that's it. But be the example. That's really the most important thing. As a nurse or a doctor, we're seeing people that are fed or eating the things that we think no way. But all you can do is be the example and share the story. People will eventually either get it or they get it.
That's right.
Yeah. 29-year-old nephew, severe diabetic, almost died, ketoacidosis. Says he can't get dentures, hemoglobin A1C, which doesn't make any sense to me. We limit people with hemoglobin A1Cs that are high to treatment of diseases. We shouldn't, because for some people, they just won't get their hemoglobin A1C down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I fell behind there a little bit. See, carnivore.
I got to jump off. I'm going to have to jump off, guys. Sorry. Soccer game starting up. I got to get going.
All right, bud. We appreciate
Great
you.
talking to you, Dr. Kiltz. Thanks. Love your ice cream. Love your talking, and love your morning shows.
Well, I
Talk to you
love
later,
what you guys are doing. So we'll connect again. Love it.
For sure.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
All right. Awesome.
See you, Larry. Take care, bro.
Thanks, Larry.
Yep.
All right. On carnivore since July 18, persuaded PCP to half Lipitor from 80 to 40. Just retested cholesterol now 187, tries 76, HDL 61, LDL 111, VLDL's 15, A1C 5.9, down from 6.1. Do you recommend I stop statins?
I don't know that any of us could say what to do, but basically the measurements are just not accurate of anything. That's the problem. I think all the HDL, VLDL, triglycerides, cholesterol don't tell you anything. The hemoglobin A1C, the ESR, CRP, or a calcium coronary artery scan may be helpful. And then your doctor tell you whether or not to be on those drugs, or you make the decision, because you're the only one that can do that, is to make the decision. So David Diamond and Sean Baker are you just look at those two and look at their work together on sharing that. But I think the measurement of cholesterol, triglycerides really has no value other than to sell a drug.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I
something
think
there.
we
I'm
already
sorry.
got that one. Yeah, we already got that one, bro.
We get that one. Okay. 36 days anniversary today. How important are electrolytes, and should one buy Link Elemental? And can you get all you need from the food, steak, etc.? I don't think that Elemental is absolutely necessary. I think that you can get everything you need from the food that you're consuming, and a good quality salt. What's your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I don't use Element, so I think Redmond's real salt and some quality, beef would be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered that pretty for the most part earlier. As far as electrolytes, I feel like, did our ancestors order Element? No, they got, like he mentioned earlier. They drink out of puddles and whatnot. They were getting natural minerals out of what they were drinking. If you're drinking from tap water, maybe you do need some, especially at first, some electrolyte replacements. Maybe not, but I know that for me, I started off using them, and I do now. But there was a time period for a while there over the last year and a half, like months, that I didn't use any, and I was eating beef and salt in my food and drinking water, and I was perfectly fine. I didn't spontaneously combust or anything. So I feel like, give your body the proper nutrients, eat the meat, and see how you feel. If something's going wrong, revisit it, reevaluate, and decide then.
Agree.
Okay. This question here says, when breaking a fast, how long after some bone broth should I wait before eating? Well, I think that question depends on how long you were fasting. If you're done a 1 day fast, then it don't really matter. I've done 2 day fasts. I don't drink bone broth after doing that. If you're doing a 3, 5 or longer, you may want to wait a little bit to allow your stomach to have the time to hydrate and get ready for food consumption. But I don't know. I've never done a fast that long. What about you guys, JT?
I usually only fast for about 36 hours when I do, so I just go right back into eating what I normally do. So I've never even had bone broth. So,
Sean?
Same. 36 hours is about as far as I've gone. I haven't done any real extended longer than 36-hour fast. And I haven't had any bone broth either.
Yeah.
Not that I'm opposed to it, but
yeah, I
just
haven't.
haven't.
I do 5 day fasts, and I go right to my meal. It's still the steak. I've done it enough times now. My gut is well healed. So I imagine that, most animals that go days and weeks without food, they're not like, they're not starting slowly. They're just going right at it.
Eating.
But I think once your gut heals, you'll get better at it. The more fasting you do, the more healing your gut goes through, and you should tolerate that.
Absolutely. Question for the physician: is there a book that you would recommend that is written that all the info that you presented here?
I've got a couple of books out there, a keto and a carnivore book. I don't have a copy of it right.
They're both in the links of the show.
Yeah, so I talk a lot about keto and carnivore and sort of my way, but there's so many different ways to do it out there. But bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt is like, and occasionally Kiltz ice cream, with or without a plant sugar. Again, if you're doing a glycine, which is an amino acid, which is sweet, it's still a sugar in my opinion, but it's not required at all.
They can pick up the fertile secret too while they're at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got one on daily intentions, inspirations, and living your best life. And I talk about plant-based diets for some people. And we got to find each and every one of us where we're at on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. Just a quick thing here. Thank you for the super sticker here from Regina. Thank you for we got another one from Regina here.
Gina's killing it.
We appreciate that. Look, we are at an hour and 43 minutes, and I respect this man's time. So we're going till the 2 hour mark, and then I'm shutting things down. So if you got questions, got to get a queue on it, and we'll do our best. But at the 2 hour mark, when we're into this, we're going to shut this thing down. So if we miss you, we do apologize. But this man's time is the most important to us, so we want to make sure that we're respecting that. All right.
I enjoy being here. This is, one of my favorite things to do is be on a carnivore roundtable. What else is there to do in life?
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
You know,
Just a quick question. You mentioned ADHD. Would you suggest that to parents who have children that suffer from that? Would the carnivore diet? Would you suggest that would help?
dyslexia, ADHD, just name a disorder that children are suffering from today. Any label, carnivore is the cure. Fatty meat, salt water. It's quite an amazing thing. You know, I wish my parents had known about it when I was young, but you know, my job is to share some ideas. But absolutely, um, oh boy, I'm trying to think of Brighty on TV. Autism is another big one.
Oh, okay.
Autistic children, go carnivore. Your parents, go carnivore. Again, no plant is ever required in the human diet. And if you could do some brown butter for a treat, my ice cream with a little bit of berries or honey,
My
small
son
amounts from
loves
time
your
to
ice cream, doctor.
Oh, I mean, again, it's the most important part is a lot of fat, egg yolks, and minimal of the sweetness. Again, it's a game changer, I think.
And it doesn't take much to sweeten it. I mean, it's just a little bit of sugar, and you're just like, wow, this is really good.
That's right. And again, it's cold, it's creamy, and I even add more cream to it, so I'm getting even more fat. And I go for you want to get whole, you want to get full cream, no additives at all. And again, it's an eggnog essentially.
It's delicious. He ate it. I had made a short of it. He had it 2 spoons at once, and he's going for it. So
Yeah. No, it's great. Again, you can even sprinkle a little Malden sea salt on it, and that adds another little bite to it that I think is really great.
Yeah, really good, really good. Absolutely.
sprinkle a little Redmonds on there.
Absolutely. And even for some people, you might even not add the sugar to the ice cream, but allow someone who wants to maybe put a little bit of honey or a sprinkle of sugar on it. Let them do their own, or they're using some blueberries or something like that. A little bit is okay if you think about it.
Which I guess brings us to this question here. It says, could you use butter and a few chocolate chips instead? I'm assuming we're talking about the ice cream. Chocolate chips in America can be questionable because you just don't know what the heck's in the chocolate in America. It's not well regulated, and they put a lot of garbage in there. So I'd be careful with that personally.
Well, I agree with that, but you can use a really dark chocolate and again but all of those are antigenic, meaning that even the vanilla bean, it's the seed that gives it the flavor. The cocoa bean gives it the chocolate flavor. So there's some antigenicity to it, but for most of us, we tolerate those things pretty well if we have them from time to time in small amounts. But butter, yeah, add butter to it for sure.
And I just started adding cocoa butter to my coffee. Is that a good replacement for artificial sweetener or regular butter?
In the transition, I think it's okay. We're all transitioning. I used to drink a lot of coffee, 3 to 5 cups a day, but I never put anything in it, just black. I do a little bit of coffee decaf with some butter, but I don't even drink that very much anymore. I've lost the taste for it. It just tastes bitter, bad.
Let's see what we got here. For naturally lean meats, what is the best method of preparation to consume? Rabbit is my current concern, but I know that there are other tasty meats. The problem with rabbit is it's just so lean. There's no fat in it.
Add butter. Yeah, I just take butter. So if I buy a tenderloin out when I'm eating, some restaurants I only buy tenderloin because they don't have a good steak. I add black and blue, and I ask for just a ton of butter. Keep bringing the butter. And so you put it on the plate. Butter is the sauce and salt is the spice. That's my opinion on when it comes to meat.
And use bacon grease every chance you get.
I put butter on everything.
Yeah. I love butter. I don't love ghee. I usually just cook in either butter or lard.
All right, fasting sugar high in the morning, yet I have been hypoglycemic since a child. I've been doing OMAD and 2MAD. Should I eat breakfast? Think statins and steroids making super high.
And they'll cause the ups and downs. hypoglycemia is extremely rare unless you're on a drug. Low blood sugars are caused by drugs, and if you're not on drugs, no one dies of hypoglycemia unless you're on a drug. And so this idea that fasting sugars are high in the morning, once again, it's stop measuring it, go one meal a day. I say at night is the very best way, and make sure you're upping the fats. But the drugs like statins cause diabetes. Statins cause type 2 diabetes because they damage the liver. It's as simple as that.
So does HCTZ, by the way. Probably all of them damage the liver because they're all. But I was taking HCTZ and didn't realize that it was raising damaging my liver like that. And I had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which I don't have either one or take any of the medicines anymore. Thank you, Carnivore.
I have a little bit of hypertension. So I go to the doctor, white coat, they take my blood pressure. I just don't even let them take it anymore. And there's evidence that as we age, our blood pressure is going to go up a little bit because our blood vessels are damaged through the years due to glycation. But I don't think that's ultimately the problem. It's the glycation that is, and I stay away from the drugs and the doctors.
There's a handful of doctors I like to hang out with these days. Whole different reason.
Yeah.
Julie, I searched back through there. I couldn't find your question. So if you could ask it again, I got one here from you. So I'm hoping this was the question that you asked.
There it is.
Go ahead and answer this one real quick. What do you think of Himalayan pink salt? I think we've already answered this one, actually.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Good stuff.
I prefer Redmond's because it's one, it's local to the United States. Two, it comes from a clean area. But if pink salt's all you can get, then absolutely, I got no problem with it. All right, there, working me good today.
There's a question by Linda Price. I started carnivore to improve my fatty liver. Video seen recent.
What time is this?
2:54.
2:54.
Sorry about
that. Okay, I got it. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
I started carnivore to improve my fatty liver. Videos seen recently indicate PCOS is related. Since PCOS has stopped being symptomatic, do you think I can anticipate good news at appointment in February? I would say probably so.
Right. So polycystic ovarian syndrome, I call it plant-caused ovarian sickness. Plant-caused ovarian sickness. So carnivore cures PCOS, PMS, endometriosis, endometritis, and all these diseases. But yeah, I've seen so many people getting pregnant naturally on carnivore.
Hypoglycemic deceptive. Not sure what that one. Hereditary genes, siblings and cousins have it. Our great grandmother was Native American.
But once again, it's because of the hyperglycemia causes an increase in insulin, which then causes a low glucose. You become symptomatic withdrawal. It's just another drug. So you think you've got a disease that's going to kill you, but it isn't. So then what do? You go to sugar, and then you raise your sugar levels again. It's just a spiraling down side effect of basically a plant-based low animal fat diet and drugs. Again, I've seen no one die of hypoglycemia unless it was drug related.
All right. How to avoid loose skin when losing weight. So, I mean, the number one thing you can do is fasting. Fasting will help a loose skin, but it depends on how quickly you lose the weight. If you lose it fast, you're going to have loose skin. I mean, that's just going to be the nature of the beast. And then it's going to take fasting over a long period of time before you're going to see that tighten up and clear up. That's just the nature of, you stretch that skin. It's not going away quickly. What's your thoughts, Dr. Kiltz?
What was that question again? Right. Now, the loose skin. Yeah, I don't know about that one completely, but I agree with you. Fasting and fat reduces the inflammation and allows the healing and the elastin of the skin to tighten up. So I think over fasting and fat, you'll reduce the glycation, which is the sugar damage to the skin.
And I just want to add that I'll take the loose skin any day of the week.
Yeah.
If I have to, you know.
And people talk about sunlight and, a cold water therapy and all those sort of things.
Primal Mike, I apologize if I missed your questions in there. We've moved past them. It would be impossible for me to find them at this point. Do you have to do a 2 to 5 day fast to be successful on carnivore? This is my second day and I eat 2 meals a day. My breakfast was 1 p.m. Eastern time.
I don't think fasting is required. I say 1 meal, 1 or 2 snacks, but the fasting isn't required. It does help. And first thing you want to do is you want to transition to carnivore. And even if it's 3 meals a day, fatty meat, salt water, bacon, eggs, butter, beef, or the triple BE, whichever it is, find one that you like, and it gives you a little bit of variety if you want. But animal-based is really what this is. And you don't need to fast. But when you get to the point, fasting will take it to the next level.
All right. This is my last question and we're going to take right here. Is it better to transition children with keto than carnivore?
I don't know that answer. I would say keto is a good start for anyone. And, if you're really you're really in the carnivore and they're looking at you, watching you, thinking, hey, that's where I want to go, they'll let you know. And, feed them carnivore. And then if they're not satisfied with that, give them a little Kiltz's ice cream, move on.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, Sean, I think you have to go, sir. Is that what you said? Okay, so if you want to give us some closing thoughts, sir, and then we'll get you out of here.
Oh man, I will tell you what. I appreciate you inviting me here. I appreciate hanging out with Dr. Kiltz, with you as well, John. And JT, man, it's always good. You've been quiet over there. You've been soaking it in, but
yeah, it's the best way to learn, man.
Dude, I do it too. I watch him at 5 o'clock in the mornings, and you guys. So I appreciate being here. I appreciate everybody in the chat. If we missed your question, I apologize. It's good to see you. You guys encourage me. I appreciate you guys seeing the progress that so many of you are making it through these comments each week. It's extremely encouraging, and it does. Progress over perfection. Progress over perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. None of us are ever going to be perfect, but we can all make some kind of progress. Set those realistic goals and work towards them. 1%. Isn't that what he says? 1% better every day, right?
1% better every day. That's it.
Every single day. And look out for each other. Encourage somebody. Go down in the comments wherever you're watching it, on Dr. Kilt's channel, on Carnivore Backwoods, on Poco Moonshine, or even on my channel. Let us know what you thought about the show, and we'll see you next time. Love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.
Sean, we appreciate you, bud.
Sean.
Thanks everyone for having me on. I appreciate it.
God bless you.
I love coming on, by the way. This is the place.
Yeah,
we'll have you on
being here.
All right, guys.
So
look,
guys, I apologize if I missed your questions. I was searching through there hard, but you get so trying to keep track of everything that it's just the questions become overwhelming. If I missed a question, put it in the comments, and we'll come back and we'll answer. Dr. Kiltz, I'm sure would. I'm sure the JT would. I will. We'll definitely answer it. JT, any closing thoughts before I go to the doctor?
Just make sure you replay this. Take some notes. Dr. Kiltz, he gave us a lot of info, and that eliminates the fear that some of us had, because fear is a lack of knowledge. So please do your due diligence, and appreciate his time. I appreciate you just enlightening us, raising the awareness, Dr. Kiltz.
Absolutely.
I've enjoyed this tremendously, and this is such important information, inspiring more people to look at the carnivore side and cure all those diseases and cure the fear. I think that's one of the most important things. Cure the fear. That's it.
Yeah, I'd love to get you on Chatting with Carnivore sometimes, my podcast.
I just
law of attraction and carnivore.
Love to do that. Talk to Jake. Jake usually helps me. If you guys got his email, I think, but love to do that.
Absolutely.
Love to do that. Please.
I'll forward it to you, JT.
Both sides, by the way. Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Kiltz, I want to personally thank you for being on our Carnivore Roundtable. I appreciate you taking the time out of your Sunday to be with us. You've been a great help for all of us to answer not only our personal questions, but the questions of the chat audience. These things are never perfect, and we obviously struggle with a few things today, but I think it went rather well. I encourage everybody to put comments in whatever channel you're watching on, and let us know, if there's something that we missed, and we can maybe answer your questions for you. We'll be back on next Sunday with the normal roundtable, and be able to answer questions there. And if we can't find the answer for you, we'll point you in the right direction. We'll point you to Dr. Kiltz. We'll point you to Dr. Barry. We'll find a video that'll help you out. So
subscribe to Kiltz's channel.
And Dr. Kiltz has a 5 o'clock in the morning every day, weekday, the power hour that is absolutely amazing. I'm there just about every morning to wish him a good morning and just, and Godspeed. I highly recommend it. You get up and you get that hour in. That's what I do every morning, 5 o'clock. I sip on my coffee and I listen to Dr. Kiltz, and that's how I start my day, with that energy that he pumps out. So I highly recommend it. If you haven't done that, watch it at 5. If you're not a 5 o'clock morning person, watch the replay, because it's just absolutely good. Dr. Kiltz, final thoughts, sir, and then we'll go to the closing screen, and then we'll have an after show conversation.
Well, I think this is really awesome. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I think the more this is shared, it's the starlight. We're just attracting more of those that are converting from standard diets and paleo and keto to carnivore. And I'm impressed with what you're doing. I've watched you guys, and thankfully I'm invited on. I really enjoy this, and I'd love to come on sometime again, and we can all join these conversations, sharing the power, which we all have. We're all born with the lion's way. We just have to realign ourselves to that. So
outstanding. Thank you, sir. Thank
you.
All right. I'm going to put my closing
sign off.
screen. And
love you guys. Take care. All righty.
Guys.
Bye.